What are the best car speakers for me? I'm Dan from Audio and More. We've been associated with car audio online since 1997, and our real world store has been in operation in New Jersey since the mid 80s. So needless to say, we've had more than a few occasions to discuss this subject with customers. This is by far the most often asked question by those new to car audio, as well as those who have been around it for years. What's the best speakers for me? A sales 101 tells us that you have to be careful about whose advice you take for a question like that. If you ask any sales rep in any car audio industry, any manufacturer rep, he'll say his speakers are the best on the market. The best for any application. If you ask any salesperson in a large big box store or a custom shop, the odds are the brand that's sitting on the shelf in the back room, that's going to be the best speaker for you. Now, after all, let's be honest, they all work on commission. Now, it's obvious that, someone is going to argue this point, especially professionals in the field, and I'll grant that there are some real professionals that do excellent jobs. But this has become the rule through the years, this type of activity. So if you want an honest answer, what's the best speakers for you, you have to look elsewhere for the answer. If you publish a blog or a video on this subject, you'll draw hundreds of guys who want to act like they're the final authority. They know all there is about what the best car speakers are. Now the trouble is that anyone who answers that question, you have to realize it's purely subjective. Meaning, if you ask 100 people what's the best speaker, you'll probably get 100 different opinions. Now, over the past few years, in interest of getting honest answer and some true feedback, we've gone to our customers for the last decade. And there's one brand speaker that kept coming up to the top of the list. When real people have listened to speakers for months or even years, and they still recommend them to others, and they continually upgrade them with the same brand or possibly new modules, but they still speak highly of those speakers, you know you have something good. So although I'll mention what I know has proven to be the best car speakers over the past 10 years for our customers, I really produced this video to help the viewer reason for himself on finding and buying the best speakers for his car or truck. Needless to say, our customers have a wide variety to select from. As you see the list there, from Alpine, Boston Acoustics, Focal, JL Audio, Kenwood, Kicker, MB Court, MTX, CDT Audio, Polk, Rockford Fosgate, and then companies that aren't on the list like Pile, Pyramid, Boss, companies that you see represented in local flea markets and small auctions locally. We've had them all, so our customers have had a wide variety to select from. It hasn't been that they've been limited. But the customers have spoken very plainly. See, although there was a wide selection, our results are interesting. Sometimes, while speakers might sound good when they're first installed, after extended listening, they can become wearisome. Some speakers, although high-end speakers, produce a brassy sound, while others can become tinny or simply flat after a while. And it's not that the quality of the speaker produces this quality, but what happens is the listener becomes tired of them. And that's the way they perceive the speaker's performance after a while. Now, our customers came back to upgrade their speakers with new features or, as I said, higher levels, higher series of the same line, which showed they were happy with what they had. But before we divulge the results, we'd like to consider some basic steps in shopping for the best possible speakers for any vehicle. Hopefully helpful if you're new to car audio. First, determine the size that is needed. There's only one way to make sure of the size that might fit your vehicle, and that's to remove the door panel and actually measure the diameter of the cutout in the frame and the allowable depth. And you do that by rolling down the window and then physically measuring the depth. Now, a warning here. You should not go by any database on any website, even the biggest name retailers online. And the reason being is they are primarily interested in selling you a speaker you're going to be satisfied with. And notice the word is satisfied. So many times, instead of giving you a 6.5-inch speaker, knowing that it might be a little more difficult to install, they'll recommend a 5.25, and they'll even supply a free adapter. And they say they're doing you a favor. But there can be quite a difference between the sound quality, the reproduction of a 6.5-inch speaker and a 5.25. So we always recommend measuring your cutout yourself so you know what you can fit in there. Now, when it comes to the depth, another option today that's very popular is the shallow mount or the slim mount speakers. There's many high-end speakers of this category available today. They do an excellent job, and in most cases, they'll fit just about any door application. Yet another solution might be that you could look for the area of a kick panel replacement. There are custom kicks that actually enable you to install a 5.25 or a 6.5 diameter speaker down in your kick panels. This gives you a new sound stage, which is very desirable, and it allows you to go with just about any brand speaker because there's no longer a depth requirement to concern yourself with. And there's also another good point about this, because when you use the kick panel speakers, you see, if you have a leased vehicle, you turn in your vehicle, it's very easy to pull out your high-end speakers at that time with the kick panel and then move them to your new car. Now, for the new shopper, just to keep things simple, when you see references to a full-range speaker in the sense of a coaxial or a triaxial speaker, that's referring to a two-way or a three-way speaker that's installed on one axis in one location. They are always sold in pairs. Now, you'll find component speaker systems will consist of a separate woofer and a tweeter and a crossover to install at each location. Now, component speakers usually will provide the best quality of sound, since there are separate speakers to handle the highs and the mid frequencies. You can also find three-way speakers, which will include a mid, a woofer, and a tweeter. Next thing that you should consider in shopping for new speakers is the power requirements. Beyond the size of your speakers, you have to think about what the power is going to be required to drive those speakers. Now, all speakers, both full range and components, will provide the RMS or continuous power rating of the speakers along with the documentation. You'll find the answers online if you go to the manufacturer's websites in most cases. While standard speakers from this types of with names like Boss and Infinity, Pioneer, Kenwood, they're in most circumstances easily driven by the head unit itself as long as it's amplified. Minimal output, you'll get decent sound quality from them. But most high-end speakers with names like CDT, MB Court, JL Audio, Alpine, you see, these will require an amplifier for the very best performance, but the rewards are well worth the added cost. Another thing to consider is if you're installing a head unit or source unit at the same time. Then you can match it up very nicely to your amplifier and your speakers all the way through. But regardless, if you do install an amplifier, we always suggest going with a 4-channel amp. It gives you a provision to control your sound quality better in the cab of your truck or the sitting area of your vehicle. You can control from front to rear as well as right to left to give you the best possible balance. You also have several other options here. Some guys will install a high-end component system up front and then just install mid-drivers or coaxials for rear fill. And then some will also go the full line and put a component set in the rear of the same quality as the ones they put into the front, which gives you a high quality sound for both riders in front and rear of your vehicle. But our survey, the results are very simple. CDT audio speakers were judged the best from our customers. Now, it's possible that you've never even heard of CDT. It's a relatively small company, but they've been around for some 20 years, imported from Europe. It's been a favorite among our customers in New Jersey and online. The sound quality was mentioned by almost all who responded, and this is exceptional when you realize that CDT isn't widely distributed through large stores like your big brand names. You know, it's interesting because it's provided by dedicated small custom shops and online stores like us. But speaking for ourselves, most customers who purchased CDT had never even heard the speakers before installation. So this is a very good testament to the great sound quality of the HD, the high definition, and the ES, the Eurosport Gold series speakers. A good number of our customers also went so far as to upgrade with the Upstage systems, which is a sound variation that's unique to CDT audio and most worthwhile. So tips for buying the best speakers: list some possible speaker brands before you go shopping. You know, speakers that you would consider. Then search the web for customer and user reviews. And remember, read who is writing the review. You'll get a more objective view that way. Determine your budget. Measure to determine your speaker size. Read the speaker specifics to plan on power requirements. And there's a fact of life that has to be considered here. Not meant as a joke, but you know, some people just never get it. You should never expect to get the same sound from a $39 or $59 set of speakers that you would from a $700 or $800 component system. It just isn't going to happen. As with most things in life, when upgrading car speakers, expect to get exactly what you pay, and you'll be well rewarded. You know, we thank you for viewing. This was presented by audioandmore.com, and we've been helping customers to find the best car speakers for their ride since 1998. And you'll find loads of additional information to help you with your shopping if you click through to our site. Thank you again.